So I think what we just witnessed was, well, the feeling I had inside was Trump, hell no. He lied through the whole thing. And Biden, it's like, oh no, he is really in a bad shape.
I came to try to watch two relatively sane people talk about what they're going to do for the country. And we got two second graders having a slugfest on the playground.
Joining us now, NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli, live from Raleigh, North Carolina, where President Biden is holding a campaign event today. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard is in Atlanta. Okay, Mike, I mean, you heard it. Hell no versus oh no. You know, a couple of grade schoolers. I'm just wondering what you're hearing from inside the Biden camp right now. What do they see as their path forward?
Well, Chris, President Biden is often fond of quoting his father, and in a moment like this, it's particularly relevant. When you get knocked down, you've got to just get back up. And as the program now begins behind me for this rally today here in Raleigh, North Carolina, a critical battleground state where the Biden team thinks they can actually go on offense and pick up a Trump 2020 state, you are just going to have an important opportunity for President Biden here to begin to reassure Democrats that last night may not have been perfect, but that it's not really indicative of where his candidacy is going forward. We heard in the initial moments last night as the president was stumbling out of the gate that, listen, he had a cold. They acknowledged he was raspy and that he wasn't starting strong. After the debate, we heard from a number of campaign officials up to and including the vice president of the United States saying, we're not going to sugarcoat this, that the president didn't start strong, but they felt like he finished strong. And that more importantly, Donald Trump, in all the research that they are seeing, was also turning off voters as they heard from him as well. The Biden campaign this morning is now stating on the record emphatically that the president absolutely not will be stepping aside from his candidacy here, that it's full speed ahead. And they're also indicating that there might be a bit of a disconnect between some of the anonymous chatter we're hearing from party establishment figures about the panic, frankly, that has set in with what the grassroots supporters of this president are saying. The campaign just announcing in the last few minutes they've raised $14 million, both last night and in the early hours of today, and that they believe that, listen, this event last night may not have changed minds for the better, but it really is. We're still in a status quo, and they know that they have a lot of work still to go ahead.
Yeah, I think as a fact check, it was not anonymous chatter. These are a lot of people who are high up in not just Democratic Party circles, but people who have said that they love, respect, and support the president. But they think last night was a bigger problem than he clearly thinks it is. But Vaughn, Donald Trump is also on the trail today. I mean, look, Donald Trump's M.O. is whatever happened last night, he was going to claim victory. But I'm wondering how they're actually feeling, especially given the headlines today.
They're feeling exceedingly great and confident coming out of this debate. This is exactly what they were hoping for, and they believed their candidate was going to be able to do when he was standing 8 feet away from Joe Biden for 90 minutes. This was a campaign that feels validated in many ways. There have been right-wing outlets, the the Trump campaign itself, that have clipped videos of Joe Biden over the last year that suggested that he did not have the physical or mental stamina for the presidency for a second term. And they made the case that last night was evidence of that, and that the clear contrast on the durability of the individual standing on stage should be assigned to millions of Americans that watch of who should go into office for a second term. Of course, most Americans are also become more immune, if you will, to many of the lies that Donald Trump has told. He repeatedly told falsehoods yesterday. A Republican Party around him, unlike the consternation we hear from the Democratic Party about the performance of Joe Biden, the Republican Party over the last 8 years has largely stepped away from speaking out against Donald Trump as its party leader over those misrepresentations, from abortion to January 6th to the criminal indictments that he faces. But the reality here is, for the Trump campaign, that even coming into this debate, they felt like they were in strong position, polling-wise, especially when you compare it to 4 years ago. And they feel like that 2 weeks away from their Republican National Convention, without even having announced a vice presidential candidate, they feel like coming out of a guilty verdict in which they feel like the polling did not overwhelmingly shift against their presumptive Republican nominee, they feel like they are in a good position here. And for Donald Trump, he has a rally in Virginia, just south of Norfolk, in about 3 hours from now. He has nothing else formally on the docket until his sentencing on July 11th in Lower Manhattan, Chris.
Vaughn Hilliard, Mike Memoli, thank you both.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.